So in this DIY, I'm going to be hooking up another rear view camera in this 370Z. Now, I already have a wireless or a reverse camera in this. It did not come factory with one, and I also have a front camera in this thing as well, and it also did not come with it from the factory. So what I did is I installed a Joy touchscreen multimedia player, and I installed both the front and the rear. So the front, this car is really supposed to be my wife's car for the most part, so she's gonna be the one driving it more often than not. And even if you're not short like she is, she's only 5 foot tall, so she has a little bit of trouble seeing up over the hood and trying to determine exactly where the front of the car is. So I put in a front view camera here. Now this shows you, as you can see over here, where like you're at with your bumper, so you don't hit any of the curbs in front of you, because that's the last thing we need to do is take off our front Nismo bumper. Now you can hit the home button and that takes you off of that. And because we have LED taillights in this, they don't draw the same kind of current that your stock taillights do. So a lot of the reverse cameras, you have to, when you put it in reverse, it sends a current back through the lights, and it triggers the camera to turn on, and it sends a signal to your multimedia player, and it brings it up. Well, what happens is whenever you have the LEDs, it doesn't have that same resistance as your stock ones, so it doesn't trigger it to stay on, or sometimes it'll work intermittently. So I just did a workaround. I did a hard wire straight from the fuse box over here. I ran a power to my switch here, so that whenever you want to put it in reverse, or whenever you want the reverse camera to come on, all you do is you push the button down, and it will pull up my reverse camera. And with this camera and with this player here, you can actually adjust where these lines are, so that makes it really nice. And just to show you that this is not a navigation model, so it just to prove that it never came with any of this. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull it in over in the shed here, and I'm gonna show you how to take apart the center console, the dash, get access to the CD player, and how I ran my lines and hooked everything back. But I found a camera that is specifically for this car, like I was saying earlier, that'll actually put in, it moves the light by the license plate off to the side a little, and it puts the camera there. And then I can actually use this camera and put it on one of my other cars. So, and then to turn off the camera, all you gotta do is, once again, click the little switch, which I can put a link in the description for the switches. I really like these switches. They have a nice glow ring, shows you when they're on, off. They sell different kinds, so they're normally on or normally off. And then they have different colors: green, orange, red, blue, white. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this in, and then we'll get to figuring out all the tools that we need and go from there. Here for the front camera, as you can see, shows that we're in there good. And if we want to trigger to the rear view, click the button, shows you how far we're in. So first off, we're going to start off by removing the shift knob, so that we can pull this boot up over the shifter. Now, to remove this, you're going to need to get your hands up underneath here and pull up out. There's little clips in there. I'm going to show you what those look like, so you get a good idea of what it is and how to do that. And then you just sort of pull back a little bit. You can lift up, pull back, and that'll come up, because these here just sort of slide in up underneath and help keep that in place. And here are the little clips. So what you do is, whenever you reach under here, you're sort of pushed down, and you pull out on it, and it helps get these clips away from back here. Now, so you're going to want to go ahead and you have your clip here, and there's just a little part right here in the back. You'll just push that down, pull that out. This is out. So this one came with the sport shift mode or shift mode. I'm not exactly sure what it stands for, but what it does is actually pretty cool. For someone like my wife who isn't the best at rev matching. She can drive manual perfectly fine, but she just doesn't rev match very well. So if you turn this on, the car will actually, whenever you go to downshift, it'll automatically blip the throttle for you, and it will bring the RPMs up to whichever gear you were going to put it in. It senses where the shifter is and allows it to just hit the right RPM to match. And then same thing when you push in the clutch. It actually hangs the RPMs a little bit and adjusts for the gear you're about to go in. So it's actually really nice. So next, we're going to want to remove these panels here, these little side panels. So they're held in by this screw. Well, each side has its own screws that they're held in by. So let's put that one there, and then this one here, I believe, is held in by this one. If I recall correct, nope. It's one of these guys. Either way, we're going to be removing them all. So it's actually, I think it's this one here that it's connected to. There we go. All right, so then you just give a little pull, and then these clips will just pop right out, and that removes the one side piece here. We're going to repeat for over here, same thing. Remove, not those ones, we're going to remove that one and that one. I mean, all these screws are going to be removed, and these are all pretty much the same size screw, so it's not imperative to remember which screw goes where. Just to make sure that you still have all of the screws. All right, so same thing, just give it a little pop. They come out really nice and easy. Next, depending on what you're doing, if you're going to replace the unit, is which no matter what, I guess you're going to have to pull all this off, because to get back behind it to plug in the camera, we will need to remove this no matter what. So just pulling those. All right, now I believe, if I recall correctly, we just sort of just work our way around. So I'm going to take that out. Just sort of work your way from down low, work your way up behind it. And they're just the same thing as these little clips. So they just pull right out. Just be a little careful. Now, whenever you're removing this, you do have your start button back here, or your starter button. So you will need to just gently pull out, try to get on the actual wire behind it so that you can get a hold of that. And then there's one over here as well. I'll show how to get these out here and in just a second. There, you just have a little tab you got to get a hold of. It's a little tight. There we go. We just pop this out, and then as you see here, you just push down on that, give a little wiggle. Now that one will come out. Same thing back here. So you come in here and just pull it out a little bit. That way you can get your hands on it. Just squeeze. Just push that out. Rehang that back up, and then this comes out. And then take like a tool, like something like this, screwdriver, whatever you got, and just give a little push here, and then work it on out. All right, and then you got your start button out, which can be a little bit of a struggle the first time you do it. And then you can remove this. Now that's out. And then to remove that, there's going to be, I believe, just 4 screws here. And you can put that back into either 6th or reverse, whatever gets it out of your way a little bit more. All right. Once again, these screws are all the same. Now our plate's removed. So go ahead and push down on the little tab, this little tabby here. Give it a little tug. Now that's out. All right, now we will remove the bracket that's held in here. So you can remove this and these up here. And now this exposes the rest of the stereo, so you can get back behind it. Now if you're replacing your actual multimedia player, you're going to have different brackets that'll line up in here for depending on what exact one you have. So for me, I'm not going to bother taking those out, but this one here, this unit for me, already has the holes directly on the player, and this is a Joy W022 model. I just used the factory bracket, put the screws into the holes on both sides, same thing. I didn't need any additional like plates, because sometimes I'll put like little spacer plates in there that help line things up, make things a little bit easier. But for this one here, I didn't need to. A lot of these players and stuff will have the jumper harness, sort of like this here. So this would be connecting into your factory player, and for this, it's so much easier. I mean, some people do the hardwire pigtails, but whatever the little wires that come with the thing, they will actually splice those right into the main harness. I don't personally ever do that. I spend the $10 to $20 and buy the jumper harness, so it's just plug and play. I don't know why people don't do that, but hey, that's to each their own. So for my setup in here, I have LED tail lights. So on the car, I have the Morimoto LEDs. So they don't have enough resistance in the wiring to truly trigger the reverse light. So I had to wire some things a little bit different than you would from the factory. Like if you had just the factory tail lights in it, they give enough resistance that whenever you put the car in reverse, it will automatically actually trigger the camera to come on and come onto the screen. I hardwired a switch in here, which I'll put a link to this. I like this little switch. It lights up real nice. I think I mentioned it earlier, so I won't talk about it too much more. With this CD player, or I guess it is, I don't know if it actually plays CDs or not. I believe it's just a multimedia player, because I don't know anybody that really uses CDs anymore personally. But it does have your RCAs, so that you can hook up your subwoofers. It does have a mic input, as you see here, this little one here. I have it routed back around and come up here and just put it right in front of the vent. That's where I prefer it, and it works actually pretty well. And then here are your inputs for your camera. So this thing has special connections already for it. So for me, I go ahead and wire up from here. Almost all the cameras have this, which I'm assuming that the wiring that will come, that is in here, I gotta pull it out of the packaging, that comes up here will have the same red and yellow connector here. Just make sure, if you're using this one specifically, it says back of the car control, so that'll trigger whenever it comes on. And then the front of the car control device. So make sure that they're plugged into the correct port, because if not, they won't work right. Then you have, for this here, obviously if you're installing a new one, it's going to say that you need to put it to a ground, and then they're going to want one for your e-brake, so that it determines whether you're in park or not to play any videos. Personal preference for whoever, I put the ground and the emergency brake, I run them both to the ground, because I don't want the car telling me when I can or can't do something on the multimedia player. So I put them both to automatic ground, so it automatically thinks the car's in park no matter what, and it doesn't affect anything else. And for this one here, as you can see, coming out of the main harness is the black one that goes to the ground, and then out of the little smaller harness here is your other ground and brake. And then I just run this to right up in here. It's just a simple ground, so as long as it gets smashed in, you could use a connector. It'd make it look a little nicer, but it's not necessarily going to work any better or worse. And so same thing down this way with these wires. They connect into the remote wire so that it can trigger for the amplifier. That's what those are down there. That's your blue wire coming out of your original harness. I didn't hook that up, so personally, he's got one that connects into that. I'm not even sure what that one is there. One goes there and one runs to the amplifier that he had in the back, which I removed it, but I left the wire just in case I did eventually decide to add it. So that's pretty much where we're at as far as in the back here, is connecting these ports. If you have a front camera and rear camera, your RCAs and your remote wire, that is the main part of up here. And then how I ran the wires down back behind the plastic and have them coming down under here. We're gonna go ahead and pop these out so we can get to removing the center console portion, go and actually remove everything. So we're just gonna go ahead and remove these screws. Now this will help if you pull the e-brake up pretty much as far as it goes. All right, and now there are going to be 2 screws back here, one on each side that you'll have to remove. You'll be able to find those easy enough. And then I'll start the video back up as soon as I remove those. All right, after the 2 screws are removed from there, then all we need to do is sort of lift up, and this is going to pull up. Can't remember, there's a clip in here actually. So as you see, the long flat, and this pops up. Just move it in a little bit, push down, that'll pop right out. Now we can disconnect that one. Same kind of thing here with this. You're gonna feel the higher side. Just move it in a little bit. And okay, so for this one, the white one, it's just gonna be right about here. It's just like right on the inside edge, and then that'll slide down just like that. And now we should be able to lift and slide. You're gonna lift mainly from the back and bring this down, and then work it forward, bring this up. And now we have our center console able to be removed, and we can then pull. Yeah, we can set this off to the side. Now I still have my other thing connected for my switch in the back here. I just used like a quick disconnect here, which I'll go ahead and take that off to show, because I really I like some of these things here, like these connectors I had talked about. Now this one's not one of the lever locks I had mentioned before, but this one works pretty well. So just the regular old connectors like this that you can get anywhere, and to put them together I use the little soldering connectors that also do like a water seal, and then it solders the wires together. I really like those. Those are probably one of my favorite newer finds. I don't know how long they've been around. You know, let's go ahead and just connect that for now and get that out of the way a little bit more. And same thing right here. This one here is still connected. It's my ground. I can go ahead and pull that out of the way as well. I'm gonna go grab my 10mm socket and remove that. Where I left off is I was inside the car. Well, I had to go pick up my kids from school, so I figured now would be just as good a time as any to open up the wiring in the back, plus also show you more of the camera that I'm installing. This is the camera that I got that I'll be installing, that it will fit back here, and it will go up here, and it's going to replace this light, and that is the camera I currently have installed. So this will replace that, and here is the wiring that comes with it. So one of these goes to one end and the other one will go to the other. This here has to connect into the red port here, and that's where I ran my power to the red, and I grounded out the black one. And then with this here, this is where you would tap into the reverse. Well, for me, this is where I ran the other wire back, my accessory wire to it, from the switch to here, so that I can just automatically trigger it in. I don't have to tap into the wire harness of my taillights. Here we have basic directions that came with the camera. So as you see here, for rear view, you're just going to connect that into the back port there, how I had showed you. I wouldn't even look at that wire there, because this wire here is just going to plug straight into the back of the screen. This one at this point here, which is just your long routing, you are going to run and connect that into here. We'll just connect those together. That's just basically your extension cable. And like I said, normally this wire here would be connected into your wire harness, or your light harness there, but we're not going to do that. Not for my situation, but for yours, if you're running stock taillights. I can't remember on the 370Z, I can't remember which color it is. I might pull that out and show that in the video for those who have a 370Z. Yeah, once you tap this into the tail light, then once the reverse lights kick in, it'll send the signal to this, and then up into the connector in the multimedia player, and it'll trigger the light to, or the multimedia player to come to the actual backup screen. But like I said, I don't have the original taillights, so that won't work for me, so that's why we wired up the switch. And I will come back up here real quick, explain that wiring. Hey Moose. So this is your common wire, so this is the main power. I have it going from a fuse under here, under my dash. I can find out exactly which fuse I have it ran to, but it's one of them that only comes on whenever you start the car. I just don't remember off the top of my head which one it is. And then it's delivering power to here, and it sends power to my switch in here, so it has constant power whenever turn on the car. And then I also tapped in the constant power, so that runs back this way. So the blue wire will run back to the, effectively on my one that's already hooked up, it'll run to the red wire on these, and then the black wire I just have grounded out back here. And the blue wire, like I said, so the blue wire goes to the red, and then the yellow wire that I have ran up there, that is what connects to the this one here, the one that's connected straight to the camera. That's the one that will connect right here. And then I will show you on the back side of the player where this red one will connect. All right, Lucy. So whenever I had showed it earlier in the video, so the back car of the control, at least for this one, that's how they have it labeled. That's where this red one will come in, and plug into the small socket here, and that triggers that camera whenever you push the switch like I have it set up, or whenever you put it in reverse. So I'll go ahead and start to remove some of the trim pieces, and then we'll get back to you there. Trim pieces, this is the only tool that you'll really need for the trim. So you can just start off by grabbing a hold like right here in the middle, and you can just peel this up and just sort of work your way around. Just make sure you get it to at least past that seam right there. Same thing here. We're just gonna go ahead and pull this up. All right, there we go. Now, we do have two clips here and here. I just use the edge of that, just give a little pop, come right out. Remember, whenever you try to do these, don't try to like pull back on the panel. Try to get in between and then pry here, because that way you're pushing the clip back in and you're not trying to actually push on the panel itself. So that's that. And then just come right over here in between the two. Just give a little lift. Just a little lift. Now this will sort of just lift right up and out. Then you do have a light in here. Just from right here is your little tab, push, pull. So, right back this way is like a little rubber grommet that's where I ran my wires through, and I guess you could run them from pretty much anywhere. Let me see, is there another one over here? There is another one back over that way if you wanted to use that one instead, but this one's just pretty easily out where you can access it a lot easier, my opinion, of course. How I ran the wires, okay, that's right, I gotta remove this yet. So I'm gonna remove this. To remove that, just come right over here, same thing as we did earlier, just get in between, just give it a little pull. I just grab right down here, and then up here, just give a little pull sort of straight back towards the middle of the car, over this way, and that allows that to come up through. Same thing over here, just make sure that's up and off, pull back here, get it come out. And once again, whenever the guy that originally had this car, he ran his amp and stuff back here, he had broke some of these tabs, so I just replaced with some out of this kit that I got over here. I believe I got this from Temu, which is a pretty good find. I mean, it's got all kinds of them that you could even think of. So now that we have that out, now we can lift this up, and now we see all of our wiring. So right here's some of his remote wiring. I don't know what all wiring's back here. All his this is the speaker wire here itself, from the amp to the actual subs. That's why I just left that all laying there, so it was all in one spot. That here's is, I believe this was power wire. A lot of this is for like the sub and amp, but that's not what we're here looking for. We are here for these 2 wires. I just ran them back from in through there. Not sure you can sort of see. There's just a little channel. You could just run those 2 wires through there. Hey, Moose. And I just have them coming up over here, down around the tire, and then back through that rubber grommet. And right here is where I have them grounded out. There is a big batch of wires over here that a lot of other grounds go to, but I wasn't worrying about taking that off and messing with all those wires when I could just run it right up to here and ground it out, and it works fine. So getting the camera hooked up, there is an opening, at least if you're going to do this kind here, there's an opening right back behind the plate. I ran it down in and from the bumper, ran it behind the bumper and up in through the thing here and brought it out through the grommet. I'll try to crawl under here and see if I can show that. Now, whenever I did this the last time, I had the car jacked up. Let's see here. Can't really get the camera up in there, so it's pretty tight to get your hand, but you can see the wire, like the opening from behind the plate, where I just brought the wires in through there and brought them across towards the grommet, connected them, and ran them through the rubber boot there. For the light switch that we're gonna do, it looks like the opening is right above the tail or the license plate. So my wiring is just gonna come in from up there. So this is gonna be very hard to show on camera doing that. So I'll probably do that off camera, but I'll show snapping in the light and pulling out and disconnecting. The wiring will just come right down through there, and then I'm gonna tie it off on some of this other wiring that's over here, just so that it's secure, like I did this one here, zip tied, and hook it in the exact same way. And actually I'm just gonna use my pre-existing wires that are already ran, just so I don't have to rerun any wires right now, just to sort of test fit to see how well this one works. And if it works well, then we'll just leave these wires ran, and I'll use the new camera, and I'll use the new wiring for the old camera whenever I put it in the S2000. To remove the old light here, all you got to do is push over towards the center of the car on the light, and it's gonna pop right out, because we're gonna reuse the bulb anyway. So this here just pops right out. Now we'll just do the exact same thing that we already did, except in reverse. Big holes right there. There we go. Because there is a bigger part that sticks out there. You gotta line it up with the bigger hole here. Now that's, and you just sort of tighten it around, and then you can rotate it once it's in there, because it just keeps it locked in. Now, to put this back in, start on the left side here. There, you're gonna take this tab here and just seat it right on the edge. I'm not sure if you can see in there or not. There's just a little lip here, plastic lip. You're just gonna seat that on the edge there. After we feed our wires up through, because that's also important. We gotta feed our wire up through. And so here's another thing with these loops. If you don't want the lines to show up on the screen, then you will clip one of these wires. I can't remember which one I got to clip. I will put that, I will either note it as a card, or I will show in a minute. But one of these you will clip so that your lines don't appear in, because a lot, like my multimedia player, it has its own lines built in, and you can actually adjust them on screen. You don't have to have your camera lined up absolutely perfect ahead of time. You can actually, whenever you get it on there, you get it pretty much squared away so it looks good. Then you can actually adjust your lines left, right, however you want to adjust them on there. And so that makes a little bit of your, you know, discrepancies of like being perfectly lined up, you can make up for it on the player. So once again, we're just going to shove these wires up in through this hole, get them to go through so they're dropping down behind the bumper. Going to put that little plastic piece in the little slot. You can see it when like in person, you'll be able to see a lot easier. And then you just clip it right in. And as you see, it's pretty solid. It'll look factory, how almost all cars are there. So, and being that it's snapped in there right, I'm hoping that this will actually line up and be easier to get straight than this one was on the car. So I'm going to switch out the wiring from underneath, and then I'll restart the video. The quick sake of me just testing out what the camera looks like to see which one I want to go with, I'm going to just reconnect all my wires here. So that's the accessory wire that triggers it. I'm gonna go ahead and loosen this up real quick because this is where my ground wire goes, and that wire there, we'll just go ahead and loop that in there like that. Ooh, bright light. So now that it knows that we're not moving. See, I didn't unplug anything from here, so that should be okay to give us our display. Now I'm gonna go put the negative terminal back on the battery. I guess I forgot one important part. We'll need to put the push button start back in so that we can turn it to on. Okay. So now just gonna go ahead and find my button over here. All right. So it's not too bad. The ones that doesn't have the ones that curve in, these ones here are mine, and that would be the factory, the ones that come on the camera already. So it looks like the ones that are actually coming from the other camera might be just as good or better, because I just sort of slapped these on to get them roughly, you know, pointing where you would go, and tried to use parking lines that were already established in a parking lot to try to get an idea of where they were. So I knew those weren't the best, but it was half decent. So I know the left side here, I mean, it's like pretty much right on. The right side, my right one, is pretty bad compared to this. So it actually looks like the lines provided by, which I can, let me turn that off real quick. Provided by that's the front camera. So you can go to your settings. Let's see if I can remember where they're at. There we are. Settings. You can do your rear mirroring, but let's see, parking assist lines. So we'll turn those ones off, and now so this shows here the parking assist lines, which ones were which. So in case you couldn't understand whatever I said about the ones that had the hook in at the end. These are those. I'm not 100% sure which way I'm going to go. I'll probably take it and use these to back into a parking lot spot, just to get an idea of whether or not this is what I would want to go with, because if I look straight back here, so if I look straight back here on the tires, if I go straight back, I am going to run into the rear tire part that holds it up. And when I look on here, it almost looks like I would just miss the actual tire, the part that covers the tire, but I would hit the part that's down. But if you look back here and I backed straight up based on my wheel, I would definitely hit that. So I'm not exactly, these lines here are probably going to have to be clipped, because these ones don't look like they're going to be perfect. It looks like they need to be moved over a little bit, but they're not bad. I mean, because you don't usually use these lines for an absolute down to the inch, I suppose. It's more of a general idea of what's there and what's behind you. So this image does look pretty nice and clear. I will compare this one to the other camera to get an idea of which one is, as far as quality, is better. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the battery again so that we can start messing with the wires. I do believe I'm going to keep this camera here on. It looks pretty good overall, and I'm probably just going to clip the lines from this camera, I do believe. I'm going to do one last test down at the parking lot before I do that, but most likely I will clip these since I have adjustable ones on the multimedia. But I'm going to disconnect the battery and I'm going to start putting everything back together. Also, I have this annoying high-pitched whine sometimes from in here under the hood. Not exactly sure what it is yet. I haven't really investigated it too much. I wonder if I did a quick Google search before. I think it said something about maybe one of the throttle bodies. If you happen to know, please leave a comment in the comment section. I'd appreciate that. Give me a lead on it. But for now, we're just gonna disconnect that so that we can get back in there to working. I remember saying that I would show how to remove the tail light in this video as well. So all you do is you just get a hold of one of these sides, just sort of peel up, lift up, and you can see they just have little connectors on there. They just sort of snap in and snap out. It's not really hard. And then you'll need a 10mm socket ratchet. Just get those loosened up. One there, one here. I believe the one inside here sticks out right there. I believe that might be an 8 if I recall. Yeah, that's an 8mm if I remember correctly. It is not the 10. I don't know you need until you find out you really do need it, to state the obvious. So this is a wide mouth adjustable wrench. So many of your normal standard size wrenches will only open about maybe an inch. This one here goes about 1.5 inches, I believe it is. So if you're working with like AN fittings and stuff for fuel or oil, I suggest getting one of these ahead of time before you even start messing with them, because it will make your life so much easier. So all we're gonna do is, with that little nut that's on there, we're gonna loosen the nut off the one bolt that sticks, the little stud that sticks out in there. Remove these. All you do is you pull back towards the back of the car and lift up. Okay, and then you can work this wire harness out through here. So let's see, I know I had spliced one of these wires. Okay, so let's see if I can figure out which one it was that I spliced. Just disconnect. That way I don't drop these lights. These lights are more than I would care to pay to have to replace them. I bought the car with them already on. Alright, so this is definitely hard hard to push in, especially with a big cut on your thumb. So I'm going to go ahead and get a pair of pliers quick, push that in, and get this out. The tail light disconnected. I will peel this electrical tape back so we can see which wire it was that I had cut, and then I just made a jumper here. Okay. Well, maybe. Okay. So, it was this little orange wire that comes in out of there and goes into here, which I probably could have saw that without having to take that off, but you can see here, and I just used those other little connectors again that make it waterproof, and puts a little bit of solder on there to help really keep them sturdy. I really like these connectors, I do. And I just had that on there, I think, just so that it wasn't pulling on itself is the main reason I had those. But yeah, so if you're wiring up with the stock tail lights, you can just go ahead and clip this orange, little orangish yellow wire, and that'll be where you tie into. So you'll have to like basically tee into it to make it work. You can't just cut one into the other, add to it. You have to actually tee into it, or else the lights won't work. So make sure that you put two of the wires together and tee to the other one. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put this back in, and then we'll start reassembly on everything else. Because I already talked about running our wires. Like if you're running a switch, then you're going to need, how I do, you're going to have this one here is the wire that tells it, is pretty much going into that other wire that I talked about earlier, the little red wire that connects to the into the black cable that runs back through here with your video cable. That little red wire is what this connects to, or sorry, yeah, the one that sticks to that. And then with the black and red combination wires, that's what this will connect to, the red one of those, as I described earlier, and the other one will go to the ground right here. So I am going to use my existing wiring that I already have in there. All I'm doing is disconnecting my old camera here, and I'm connecting the new camera with right where those connect points are, and then I'm going to remove this and I'm going to use it on my other car. So I have them started to disconnect onto the car already. I just have to cut one more zip tie, and that was one of the main reasons I pulled this out, is so that I can cut this zip tie here so that my I can pull my line down through. Yeah, this is the style here. Just mounts right there that I had on there originally. It did work really nice, but like I said, I couldn't pass this up once I found one that mounts pretty much just like stock. And I just had this ran back through the hole here. Just pull them out. Just like that. I'm just gonna do a lot less talking, a lot more putting right back together. I got work tonight. Not that I'll be taking this car to work, but this video is getting really long, I'm sure, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get it all done. When you go to put it back in, just get it there, lined up roughly, give it a little slide straight in. Then tighten in the bolts. Same thing as the same way as we took them out, put them in. Just go ahead and get that lined up. Give it a little snap down. Now that piece is back in place. Alright, next we're just gonna reinstall this piece here. Make sure that our wires and stuff had enough slack when we ran them. This thing here, if your battery ever dies, it's just right here. This is actually a manual trunk release. It can be a little tricky to find, so if you pick up, I believe there's like a little pouch or a little hole or something there. It's just literally clipped on with like a Velcro clip there. You peel it back off of the Velcro, and then you give it a tug. took me a while to figure out where that was the one time when my battery was dead. Okay, so now we got that one in place. Go ahead and put that one in. So get the rubber out of the way. And just get them sort of like lined up. Give them a little pops, and they should be in there nice and snug. Stink bug. Get it lined up just like that. And now that piece is in. So with this, just bring it back, lift it up high, bring it back, down, and then in. Same how, see, you got the little bump here. You'll just put that side, or well, put the other side in first, and then just a little push, that'll snap right back in. Then we can take our rubber. As you see the groove, how it lays in there, just continue to follow that right back down. All right, the trunk's almost put back together. Yeah, so whenever I was trying to find that latch release, I had to lift up on this, and then it's just right back here in this little groove right there. That's where you'll pull back and lift up. So trunk's back together, back side of this. Now we'll go up here and we'll finish putting the center console and everything else back in. So now that we're back inside the car here, we want to make sure that our wires are all not going to be pinched whenever we set everything back down. So I ran mine like this, and brought them right in on the inside, just sort of tuck them down in, and I'll lay them out across whenever I go to finish putting this on. And definitely want to, if you're using like these kind of connectors, you definitely want to duct tape or black tape them, because they will ground out, cause sparks. So black tape is a must if you're going to use this kind. There are the lever lock nuts as well. I have a video on those. Those are actually really nice. I don't think I had the ones that I wanted to use whenever I originally did this, but seeing as how I have it set up like this already, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. But if I had the lever lock nuts ahead of time, I would have used the T here, or the little single line, and then all you do is you pop the lock and they come right out. I'm going to go ahead and grab my socket real quick, tighten this down, and I'm going to get back to putting everything in. Come loose. All right, get that out of here. Now we'll put this back in. So we start up in the air. Get these out of the road a little bit here. Bring this down, get underneath those, and level it out a little bit so we can get this started. Now we can bring it back, lay it down, goes in real nice. But you definitely want to make sure that this is up pretty much as far as you can get it, so that it makes this a lot easier getting in and out. And we're pretty much along our way here, and we'll just start connecting our wires again.
I'm going to remove this one, so we just put that in there just so we can test out the multimedia player. So I gotta remove this first.
Make sure all our wires are back there without pinching any wires. We don't want to pinch wires. All right. Everything seems to fit in nice without. All right. And I just made a little loop around this. That way when I tighten it down, it's pretty much tightening on itself. All right. Now that's grounded. You can go ahead and remove this again, since we used it just to start the car quick. Pop that out. Now we'll finish getting these in. I'll start the video back up after I have all 4 of these in. It goes here, here, one there, and one over there. All right. So we can go ahead, after we have those 4 already back screwed in, you can, which you could have did this before that. You could do this afterwards like I'm doing. You just want to make sure you put the screws back in the back part of the center console here again as well. Get those in, and then I'll get the one behind me on this side here in a minute. So our next step is going to be connecting this. So we will get our lines coming down through there. Connect that. Make sure that goes straight there. You got our little pins hold up there. We'll go ahead and put those 2 screws in. Here and here. Here, here. And I'll resume the video once those are in. So I'm not sure how well you could see, since the lighting is getting kind of dark outside. I may have to turn on my other lights, but right there's one of them. There's another screw. There's another hole, and then there's one of them that we already started. Okay, now that that's in, the next step will be to get our big piece here, our cubby, or would have been navigation if you would have gotten that system, and we will, I believe I took this side out first, so we'll see if we can stretch that one out a little bit and get our button here, get it put in, and we'll just go ahead and get our connector there. Pretty simple, straightforward. If you've made it this far to the video doing everything, I think you know how to put that clip in. And same with this. If you made it this far, you can get that clip in. The little part that you would squeeze on that goes at the bottom. That's an in. And that'll only go in one way. So that part's there. And now we have 2 screws to make sure that part doesn't come out. That's going to be right down here and right here. Alright, so I added a little bit more light back in on the subject here. Okay, so we need our little side pieces here for where the legs will rest. And now, like my microphone, I have it pulled for the speaker for mine. I had ran it off to the side, like under here. I had ran it back up underneath, back behind this panel, and brought it up in, wedged it up along, and connected here on the vent. You can run it onto the other side over here if you want it. I'm sure there's ways you can run it from underneath the dash up the pillar and put it on your visor if you want to or something like that. I just I personally like it right there, makes it easy. And like I said, so now we're gonna put these pieces on. You just sort of, if you eyeball up right here, make sure those two are sort of lined up, you'll know that whenever you push, these clips are gonna be pushed in. And you'll do the same thing on the other side here. Just make sure that the holes are sort of lined up with the clips here. And you'll know the ones back here are lined up. So then we'll go ahead and put in that screw there, that screw, and these two remaining screws here. And then I'll only have one more screw, which is the one that's right behind my seat. And then we'll pop that piece in and we'll be done. I think I did forget to mention, or I might have just said it but didn't actually do it. These ones here are the one that actually holds the front of the center console in place. So you need to put those screws in as well. All right, those screws are in. Go ahead and get that clipped in. Slide that over there. Get that up in. Just give it a little love tap down in place. Put whatever shift knob you got back on. And that's assuming you're doing it on a manual. Automatic is similar. I have one of those down in the other garage. It was a parts car for this one because I swapped the engine out of that one down there that ran and drove, but had a title of destruction. But its engine had a lot less miles, it was somewhere right around 100,000. This one had 165 and had the low oil pressure, so I'm assuming the gallery gaskets were bad. I'm gonna do a whole thing on changing those out. But so yeah, I have another one down there that I pulled the engine out and put in this. So I will be doing some videos on gallery gaskets and like putting the engine and transmission back in the other one, because I did not record pulling the engine and swapping it, not in its entirety. So now that that's back on, I'm going to put the one more screw back here behind me, and I think that pretty much wraps up this video of just in general how to replace your original navigation or CD player, whatever came in here with a double DIN, and how to hook up a wire or a backup camera. So the same thing with a forward camera. I have one up here. I will show that just briefly, but it's pretty much the exact same thing, except with whenever you have it set up for front, you got to buy one that actually says that you can use it for a front camera, and it'll have its own like little loop, if I believe, that you cut, and you pretty much just simply run it back with the power wire and connect it into the back of this. You don't have to worry about all the different loops and running extra power and extra ground. You just run the one wire for that, and it's not too bad. You just bring it in through the I ran mine up through the fender, brought it over across in back behind the battery, and brought it down in underneath over there by the kick panel, brought it across and tied it back into the back of here. It's pretty much just figuring out how to route it is the only hard part about that, but it's not even hard at all. I did mount it into the front bumper, so I did have to use these self-tapping screws for that. But if you found this this video helpful, informative, please give it a thumbs up, comment, or consider subscribing. It would really help me out, and I appreciate it. Thank you.